Okay, today we're going to talk about Facebook ads, how to get a higher return on Facebook ads, or if you have a good return that's acceptable to you already, how you can leverage your Facebook ads by 2 to 3x by using more ad types in Facebook. So to answer your question about what was portrayed in the title of this video, does having more ad types actually make more money with Facebook ads? The answer to that is absolutely yes. So we'll go into why that is, how to actually exploit the multiple ad types so you get the same kind of return that I'm getting with the ad tests that I'm doing, by giving you an actual example from the teeth whitening space, and how the same thing actually applies on Google as well, if you want to take things a little bit further. So with all that said, we'll get right into the content. So first, there's a thing in the online advertising, online advertising world called ad fatigue. Maybe you've heard of this, maybe you haven't, which applies whenever you run any kind of online advertising out there, whether it's Facebook, Google, could be LinkedIn, wherever. Most, though, of the people who do know about this mainly only know about it as it applies to Facebook ads, because with Facebook, ad fatigue is a really big factor in how much results you're getting with Facebook. Most people know on Facebook there's relevancy score that determines how much you're paying per click, and that's tied to, of course, your ad click-through rate, and then what people think about your landing page when you get there. But mostly on Facebook, it's click-through rate. And with that said, depending on how many times somebody's seen your ad will dictate what the click-through rate on the ad is, which that then ties into how much you're going to pay per click, which then ties into how much ROI you're going to get from your campaign. And there's a thing called ad frequency score in Facebook, which shows you also how many times your audience that you're targeting, whether that's lookalikes or an individual, preset audience that Facebook has, how many times the average person in that audience that you're targeting, whether it's 50,000, 100,000 people, have seen your ad that you have. Or it could be groups of ads, specifically, if you have multiple ads in your ad group, but specifically the frequency in which people have seen your ad or ads. And so with that, the general golden rule is, once somebody so you'll get more results as people have seen your ads more, up to a point where that number of times that your audience has seen the ad 7 times or up to 7 times, and then after 7 times, generally speaking, the performance in terms of how much profit and ROI you're going to have falls off, because the cost per click will start getting higher, and then your ROI will get lower the more times, or the higher that ad frequency gets on your ad or ads. Okay? So with that said, what you're always trying to do, generally speaking, with Facebook, if you don't know already, is actually switch out your ad creative enough times so that you never actually get over that threshold of 7 ad frequency, so that your cost per click doesn't go up and your ROI doesn't fall off a cliff, and respectively you get a consistently good return on your Facebook campaigns. So that all said, generally speaking, and my point here was, this applies everywhere. Facebook, that's the case, but the same power of 7s and all that applies to wherever you're advertising. On other ad networks, they don't actually tell you how many times people in your audience have seen your ads. You can't monitor it as well. On Google, for instance, you can actually have the ad frequency set to where somebody can see an ad 7 times and that's it. It doesn't say how many people in your audience have seen the ad, like Facebook does. So, but regardless of wherever you're advertising, you have to watch that if you want returns that don't fall off a cliff. With my testing that I've done, which is the reason why I made this video here for you today, using the same ad in different formats on Facebook, makes, by having those multiple formats going for your business, assuming that you could take the same exact ad creative and putting it, and if you put it in multiple different ad types, like, you know, that would be the same content. It could be an image and a video, a carousel ad, and then there's a bunch of different types of ads that Facebook has now. You'll actually make more money, a lot more money, having that creative, that winning creative. You know, once you find, you know, the first thing is you got to find an audience that works. But once you've done that, you got to find, you know, an ad that works, and those two kind of go together. But once you've found the ad creative that works, what you should absolutely always do is right away go for having that ad creative built into the other ad types that Facebook has, because you'll make more money, you'll have a better ROI, and you'll get more overall sales, i.e. where the ability to leverage what you've built comes in as well. So if you're making an ROI that you want, you can get upwards of twice as much money from that ad creative by having the ad creative used, reallocated, repurposed for, and put into these other ad types. And you also get, in a lot of cases, the actual ROI that you will get versus you know, particularly as you're running that same creative for a while and you're getting over that ad frequency score of 7, like I talked about earlier or just a second ago, your ROI will go up about twice as high as what you had already as well. So generally speaking, by having the same ad creative though, and you put it in these different ad types, as far as the user is concerned, as I've proven, it's like having 10 different pieces of creative. If you put it, there's not really 10 full different types of ad types in Facebook, but you know, to clarify, if you having one ad creative repurposed into 5 different ad types is like having 5 different pieces of creative, pretty much. Not quite as much as that, but if you don't have more ad creative, and knowing that you'll have you're pounding one audience too many times, and once you get over a ad frequency score of 7, your ROI is going to go to shit. You can actually, instead of having more ad creative that you can't think of on the spot, you know, it taxes your mind, you know, potentially too much to come up with that. You could just do the same creative in the different ad types and get most of the benefit of having actually totally different ad creative, which is a cool hack. Okay, so if one ad creative is working for you, use it in all the other types, because you'll get more people clicking, and they'll click at a higher rate, which will mean you get also a higher ROI from all of this. So that's the answer to the video and what the question of the title of this video actually is. So with that said, what does that actually look like though? So I had a test on Facebook in the teeth whitening space. Like I said, I was going to go over in this video. I'm going over this mini case study. What this client had coming in to initially start working with them was they had 2 different image ads that they were running on Facebook. And with that, so this alone it was still profitable results. They were running heavy ads on Facebook, so I was just trying to figure out how to get Facebook to work. And you know, when this happened, this is a while back. From now on, this is going to be more so my go-to, is to make the ads in the different ad types, so that, like I just told you, if one creative works, let's make it in the other ad types to capitalize on what that could do for us. But in this case, I actually made that particular. It was 2 ads. Each of those ads were made in the different ad types as follows: video ad, carousel ad, slideshow ad, collection ad, messenger ad. Okay? And then what we did is we ran them all in conjunction with one another, all running at the same time, rotating out for the user in each ad group. So there's 2 ad groups, one ad group with 1 ad in it, one group with another ad in it. Each ad group had that creative made in all the different ad types running together. So respectively, then we can, which I recommend you do, by the way, you want one ad group for each type of ad kind of creative. And then within that ad group, you can have all the different ad types in there. It'll make it easier to manage the ROI and your bidding and how you want to actually decide to dial one up versus the other up or down, because you'll get more granularity and control over what you're doing, so you can extract the maximum amount of sales at the ROI that you're looking for, just like you would do with, well, just in general, I always refer back to Google Ads. This is what you do heavily in Google Ads. Different keywords, time of the day of the week, all have different ROIs, so you want to set a different bid for each one. In Facebook, you break things out so you can see how much budget you should be putting to each demographic and each ad creative, since they're all going to perform differently if the ad creative's substantially different than each other. But beyond that, going back to the case study here, the overall, what we were able to do with just by taking the ad creative, putting it in all the other ad types, we raised the year-over-year revenue, or otherwise the revenue that we were getting from that campaign as it's tracked inside that campaign for the client, compared to the same time last year, which if you're not doing that, you should definitely do that for yourself. A lot of people get, tied up in, all my campaigns are doing very good, but if you looked at the year-over-year data, it's fine. Go back 3 years, putting your sales in a spreadsheet by month, and then as you go into the next month, you should be able to see what your sales should be for that next coming month, comparing it to the last 3 years in that same month. Because very little markets have no fluctuation throughout the year in terms of what the ROI will be for each individual month. Each month will have a different ROI in general, because people buy faster or more willing to pay certain months than others, and should I say certain seasons than others. But I keep getting a bit off track. I just want to give you some extra bonus information here. In this case study, we raised the year-over-year revenue from this client's Facebook campaign by 192% on just the straight-up revenue side, but that's not even the best part. We raised it 192% for only 109% more ad budget. So where that came from is, like I said before, what you'll get with this is you'll have less ad fatigue, because you'll have more ads for the users in that audience to see, okay? And so instead of basically, they only have a chance to see that one ad, you can slam them. Technically, you could pound that one audience more, giving you what's basically almost like having totally unique, lots of unique ad copy, even though you just repurpose the same ad over and over again, like I said, into different ad types that Facebook has. But respectively, with that, there's less ad fatigue. What you're going to get is, by having, instead of, like, if this is you as well, if you have a static image ad, and then you make that static image ad, that creative, and put it in all these different ad types, like I mentioned, carousel, slideshow, collection ad, messenger ad, ultimately, the amount of people that are going to click through your Facebook ads as a whole will be much greater than if you just had the one ad type versus all the ad types I listed here. And in this particular case, the amount of people who click through their Facebook ads as a whole versus when we just had the one ad type versus all these ad types here was 166% different. So 166% more people actually clicked a ad in general on that client's Facebook account than what they had before, because there's different ads in there. Different ads get different people's attention. In general, the people that saw the ad before, that were used to seeing it, now they saw it in a different format, so it caught their attention more, or had the capability to catch their attention at the rate the original ad did back when it was first released. On top of that, the click-through rate of the overall Facebook account went up 74%. Then what was the click-through rate of the ad, two ads, as I mentioned, two image ads that they had before. So with that, the click-through rate is going to be higher overall when you have multiple ad creative, but that's certainly the case with multiple ad types as well, because again, there's less, overall ad fatigue as a part of the overall setup you have, a potential for ad fatigue from the overall setup that you have when there's multiple ad types, which then technically to the user doesn't look like it's the same thing that they've seen before. So therefore your click-through rate's going to be higher, because obviously if they want, like I said, people naturally, once they've seen the ad, generally 7 times or more, are very less likely to click, and it gets less the more that they've seen it. Whereas to have all these ads right away, we got a bunch of new creative out there, technically, which was just the same creative in different ad types. It pretty much did just the same thing for us as if we had all this unique creative, where we came up with all this unique creative itself. With that, we got the cost per click from their Facebook account as a whole then for them from $1.04 per click down to 58 cents per click. So like I said, this is a lot of potential to make a profit for you. Just for making a profit from the leverage side, if you got something profitable, you can get a ton more clicks, making all your ad creative and all the other ad types, but also dropping that cost per, or that click-through rate, which the click-through rate, due to the ad relevancy score, is going to drop your cost per click, and you're going to get a nice reduction in what you have to pay for a click from the same audience, same exact people. Then you got a higher profit margin from what you're doing, on top of the amount of people that are coming in off your audience being a lot greater in general. So you'll get an increased amount of people coming through because there's stuff that's new, but also the different ad types, certain ones will catch people's attention more than others. And what will catch a person's attention is different in different circumstances for each person. So that's why you want to have all these different ad types, because you get a big boost and help on your campaign there, as well as cutting down on the ad fatigue. So technically there's two ways this helps you. It helps you cater to different people, like to see different things, but also people are, they don't want to see the same ad over and over again. So you're helping them not feel so bored by what you're showing them by having actually different things to show, and without having to create all this new individual ad creative for yourself. Realistically, I recommend creating other ad creative, and you constantly want to work more in there. Any Facebook campaign that I run, I want 3 to 5 different ad creative to rotate out for the reasons I mentioned. Because different things will capture that same person's attention. What captures one person's attention won't capture another person's attention, and then vice versa. So we have 3 to 5 ads in there. So if this ad didn't catch your attention, maybe this one will, and maybe this one will. But also as a whole, we can run the campaign and get the good ROI for longer, given each ad will have to technically be seen 7 times to start where the ROI would start dipping. And when you have 3 to 5 ad copy, you can take pieces of ad creative, I should say. You can actually make each of those 3 to 5 ad creative into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different ad types. So now you really have 25 pieces of individual, 25 different ads, 5 different individual ad creatives, but also then made, each creative being made with in each of the ad types that I mentioned here that I would recommend you using. And now you have 25 unique things that the user potentially can see, versus just 5 if you only used all 5 ad creative in just the image ad type format, or a video ad format, and so forth. If you have a video, you make it with a static image, and that's easy to do if you just put your mind to it. But that's exactly how you go about doing this. So that's really good results just by taking what you have, putting it in other ad types. Made a huge difference. I will admit some of this is because, like I said at the beginning, having a campaign running for a while and not refreshing the creative, they weren't updating their creative as much as they should. It was a large set of audiences that we're targeting with 1 million plus people, but still within that, you would have gotten an increase in results just by having another ad creative released. But each time you release ad creative, it may not work. The great thing about the different ad types is you know the ad creative that works. So if you go first and go putting that in all the different ad types, for the most part, you'll be able to refresh what you have so that the ad fatigue goes down to 0, and you've got something that's known to work. So basically, the results should really have nowhere other place to go but up at that point. Just once you've released that ad creative in the different ad types and what you rolled it out for. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And what you should basically start doing by default for your Facebook account, now that you know this works basically every single time that you would apply it. I wanted to talk about, and this video is about Facebook PPC or Facebook advertising. There's the same thing as I mentioned here at the start of the video. Going back to this, I said ad fatigue applies anywhere, and I want people to know that are watching this video, that ad fatigue doesn't apply just to Facebook. It's all your online advertising, including any Google Display Network, LinkedIn ads, Taboola ads, whatever. So respectively, you should not just try to run one ad for wherever you're at. Come out with other ad creative, but on these other ad networks, Google being one, there's different ad types, and so LinkedIn has different ad types. You want to do your ad creative once you know it works, and all the other different ad types, because you'll get the same kind of boost in results there. On Google specifically, a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people, first of all, do Facebook ads and they don't do Google Display Network. If you got a Facebook ad creative that works on Facebook, move it over to Google Display Network and try it there. Of course, it'll be tougher to get working because the audiences don't align one-to-one. If you look, for instance, if you use a lookalikes audience that's working for you on Facebook ads, and you go to Google's equivalent, which is the similar to audience, technically it's supposed to work on the same level of machine learning and where they're looking at people coming to your site and get more people like that. They have each algorithm, the Facebook algorithm for that is different than the Google algorithm, and even though it's the same ad creative, your results can be drastically different. At the same time, a lot of times it will be similar, so you should give it a shot. And of course, if anything that's running, if you start to run something new in Google, don't expect that to work as good as your Facebook has that's been running for years already. It took years to build up the results you have on Facebook. You just have to start with a smaller budget on Google and then build it up. If you're 10% of the results that you had on Facebook after running your ads for years on Facebook, and you switch to Google, then you should be happy, because at that point you should know, well, I run these ads for a while, I'll build up the ROI, and I'll have something that now will potentially double the amount of sales I can get. And realistically, that's what it is. If you have something on Facebook that works, you move it over to Google Display Network and get it to work, which you generally will get it to work. It's just how much. But in general, typically, if client's got a funnel that works on Facebook, I can move that to Google Display Network, double the sales at a similar ROI. It's just a matter of figuring out what's the audiences that are going to work, because a one-to-one, like if you have an audience set up for cat lovers on Facebook, that same audience, cat lovers on Google Display Network, won't be the one. You would another cat one, for instance, and you just got to figure out what that equivalent would be without directly copying that. But copying the funnel is, that's what you always do. You don't reinvent the wheel. When you're switching over to other networks, you get a funnel that works on one network, you switch, you make that same funnel on the other network, and then you just figure out the audience targeting that's going to work, and now you've multiplied your potential and the results and sales you can get from PPC as a whole for your business. For Google, we had a foundation repair company. They were already, when I started on with them, they were running responsive display ads on the Google Display Network, okay, for a similar to audience that Google has. And the similar to audience has gotten 50 times better than what it used to be. Facebook's lookalikes audiences were the rage for a long time because how good that worked. Google's wasn't matching, customer matching algorithm or site traffic, audience matching algorithm wasn't very good, but it's gotten really good today. It's as good basically as Facebook's, and actually maybe even better now due to what Facebook has with the, with Apple stripping the amount of data that they have that they can use. So you should consider that, but you consider using that if you're using Facebook now, and lookalikes there just uses a similar to. So with that all said, going back to the case study here in general, the foundation repair company had these responsive display ads running, and respectively understood the ad creative there that was kind of working. So I just repurposed that, just like I mentioned on Facebook you should do. We made 15 different static banners, and we ran it to the same audience. We also made a video ad and ran that on YouTube itself, which is the YouTube Instream ads, skippable Instream ads, which those are the best working YouTube ads. We also did the YouTube Outstream, which is having your video ad show that's normally on Facebook, or usually on YouTube, but your little video ad will show up on the Display Network, which is the millions of websites that you can advertise on through Google Display Network. So instead of them seeing your video ad on YouTube, like I said, it's any other website besides YouTube at that point with the Outstream. And so respectively, the key thing here is the audience that works on Google. Once it works, absolutely try taking the ad creative you had that worked with that audience for you and do banners. If you don't have banners yet, you just have responsive display ads. Or if you have banners, do the responsive display ads. Or if you have banners and responsive display ads, hit up YouTube and target the same audience. Because like I said, if you find something that works, try to do it someplace else. Copy as much of it as you can, because that'll get you to profitability as quickly as possible. And from there you can try, switching up the ad creator and do all this other crazy stuff. So when you run that YouTube ad, if you target the same audience, you're 80% ahead of the game right from the get-go, because you know that audience works for your business, and you've taken the ad creative, repurposed it, put it on a video, and now you're targeting the same audience with pretty much the same messaging. It should pretty much work right away for you, and now you've got a way to multiply your sales at a similar ROI. In this particular case, we did this repurposing and making the responsive display ads into banner ads, YouTube Instream and Outstream ads. We got, within 3 months, 143% more leads than they had just simply from the responsive display ads to that set, similar to audience, for a 228% increase in ad budget. So you're saying, what? Yes, we spent more to get the lead, so the lead cost went up. But if this happens to you, like I was talking about before, if you get anywhere close to your goal once you test something out new with PPC, you should already be jumping up and down, yay, whee! Because you can actually get the ROI down just by using the data. With a similar to audience, yes, that you're still targeting the same audience, but you can do time of the day, day of the week. You can do age, gender, bid adjustments within that audience. So, and with that, you can do all those adjustments just for the banners that you release. So you don't touch the responsive display ads that you had. You start up a new campaign for just the banners. You run that same audience that you were running for the responsive display ads. But in this case, the ROI is not as good. It's about half as good, but you'll take it because now you can do bid adjustments on each, what they call dimension within that campaign. Like I said, maybe you have to adjust the bids per zip code, or what state the user's in, or what country the user's in, which you can also do, or the device that the user's on, and you'll massage down. You'll take out the parts of what you're doing that's producing above average, reallocate that to the parts of the campaign that are doing above average. I apologize if I said account, but I meant campaign. Take the parts of the campaign that are doing below average, reallocate that to the parts of the campaigns that are doing above average, and now you have a much better ROI. And you keep doing that, and once you get enough data, you'll know exactly how to dial that in to get any ROI that you want. It's just a question of how much sales you're going to have out of that campaign after you've done that. But you'll get an ROI, whatever you want, by adjusting the bids, and you're just hoping to get as many sales as possible at the target ROI that you want. That's how the real pros are doing PPC. So if you go in with the mindset that this is going to work no matter what, and you use your data properly and you have your tracking set up properly, you will get what you want. It's just a matter of how much you're going to get. Of course, also initially to get over the initial break-even point, how long is it going to take? But generally speaking, if you have something that you already know, the ad creative that kind of works and the audience that works, you're going to have whatever you set up new working pretty much fairly quickly or right away. And you may not have the ROI exactly the same as what you were doing before with your other ad type, but after a few more months, 3-6 months, you've got enough data to know exactly how to dial in the different dimensions, i.e. time of the day of the week, whatever, for that particular ad type that you're doing, which performs and behaves a little bit differently, to make that stable, get the same ROI that you're looking for, or the minimum ROI that you're looking for, and now you've got a long-term revenue source that's just going to keep producing month over month, year over year for you from then on. So anyway, the same thing that I talked to you or just explained to you about ad types on Facebook really does apply to Google as it does apply to LinkedIn. Take all your ad creative, make it in the other ad types that they have available. Use that as a de facto way to get more leverage from the same audience, some of which would respond to one thing versus another thing. If they see it, people, get each person based upon what they would like to see. One ad type making more of an impact on that person than the other, and the fact that they're going to see multiple ads. Therefore, if they saw your ad already, they're more likely to get you a click at a decent click-through rate, therefore a decent cost per click or a decent rate, because now, instead of having to see that same ad 6 more times, it actually will work a little bit better that they saw a different version of the ad, pique their interest more, and after they saw your ad more than a few times, and you get over that 7 mark of how many times you see your ad, you can float that campaign longer because you've got other ad types to make sure that your ROI doesn't start going off a cliff at a certain point in time as well. As a small note about Google and Facebook, the difference here, the ad frequency, definitely you don't want people to see your ad more than 7 times on Facebook because the ROI will start sharply going off a cliff after that. On Google Display Network, your ad frequency, you can take whatever that 7 number basically times 10. Why? Because most people don't see banner ads on the Google Display Network as they see it on Facebook. They're really paying attention to the Facebook ads, which is part of the reason why Facebook ads work so good. So as you set your ad frequency limits on your campaign, which you should do with Google Display, because otherwise you'll just absolutely annoy people with how many times the ads show up, that you can set it. I usually set it so it's no more than 5 impressions a day, and so with that, so that I'll spread it out, and you don't want it all just happening all at once either. With that said, then you can, from there you can have have it show up for 50 times. Once you get over that kind of a threshold, like 50 plus, that's when the ROI can really start dropping off. So the same 7 doesn't apply, just because a lot of times the banner ad shows you're not even seeing it because it's way off to the side of the page. That's why. Whereas on Facebook, you're always going to pretty much see the ad when it pops up. Not every time. If you're talking about newsfeed ads, and I know some of these, like the Messenger ad, isn't exactly that, but respectively, you get the general idea. If it's on the newsfeed, more than 7 is kind of the limit with that. So anyway, that's everything that I wanted to share in today's video. Use the different ad types to your disposal. If you like the video, I'd appreciate it if you liked the video, click the like button, in other words, and consider subscribing. I have a lot of other videos like this that I'm coming out with other great money-making opportunities with PPC, derived from actual things I'm doing with our clients' accounts here at Guaranteed PPC. Stuff that works, stuff that's cutting edge, that's actively can be turnkey stuff to be able to get your campaigns to make more money. It's the best content I've found on YouTube, which is why I created the channel, about making money with PPC, and it has pretty much everything you need to keep inching up the results you have with it, or using it and learning it. I also have a blog, by the way, at guaranteedppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions and articles written to show people like yourself how to build campaigns the way that I physically build them here to guarantee our clients results. But you may find more use in that potentially, perhaps, or just probably also it's just another resource for you. If you're really serious about making more money with PPC, you can just take the strategies I'm using after all the millions of dollars of ad testing that I've had over the past 15 years and bundle that up for you. And it could be very valuable as a resource for you as well. If you have any questions about anything I covered, about the ad types, why you should use them, where you should use them, in terms of how many to use, that kind of thing, leave me a comment down below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, typically within a day or two. With that said, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in my next video where I have another great PPC strategy that covers Google, Facebook, or other online advertising. It shows you how to make more money with your campaigns and leverage what you have. See you there.